Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's Voice to the World. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. Coming up in the next hour. Russian President Vladimir Putin invites Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi to Russia during his meeting with India's External Affairs Minister. Global issues dominate agenda of the talks. US to provide fresh $250 million aid to fund Ukraine's war against Russia. Package to include arms and equipment. North Korean leader Kim Jong Un orders country's military to speed up war preparations to counter what he calls unprecedented confrontational moves by the United States. Australia's most prestigious ocean race concludes with LawConnect claiming the honours. India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar held talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Moscow on Wednesday. Discussions were held on a wide range of issues, including Ukraine conflict.
With an aim to take the Russia-India partnership to new heights, India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar held talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Moscow on Wednesday. During the meeting, President Putin invited India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi to visit Russia, saying it will give both countries an opportunity to discuss all current issues and also explore the scope of future bilateral ties.
We
will be glad to see our friend, Mr. Prime Minister Modi, in Russia. We will be able to discuss all current issues and talk about the prospects for the development of Russian-Indian relations. We have a lot of work to do, so I ask you to convey to him my best wishes and please pass on our invitation. We are waiting for him in Russia.
As soon as the meeting began, the Russian president highlighted Prime Minister Narendra Modi's willingness to do his best to resolve the Ukraine crisis peacefully.
We know the position of Prime Minister Modi and we have spoken about this more than once. His position regarding his attitude towards complex processes, including flashpoint areas and the situation in Ukraine.
In his remarks, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar conveyed the warm greetings of Prime Minister Modi and handed over a personal message to President Putin.
First of all, please allow me to convey the personal greetings of Prime Minister Modi. He has also, through me, sent a letter to you, a letter expressing his thoughts about the state of our cooperation and the progress that we have made in recent days, and I will have the honor to give you the letter. Certainly, Mr. President, he looks forward to visiting Russia next year.
External Affairs Minister Jaishankar, who is on a 5-day visit to Russia, also had a comprehensive and a productive meeting with his Russian counterpart, Sergei Lavrov, on Wednesday. As strategic partners, discussions were also held on international situations and contemporary issues, including defense partnerships. With Anita Raj, Amit Mukherjee for DD India.
All right, and DD India correspondent Meghna Dev joins us live for more. Meghna, what were the key highlights of the talks between External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar and Russian President Vladimir Putin in Moscow?
Absolutely, it was a very important meeting between the External Affairs Minister as well as President Putin, where they obviously highlighted that, President Putin did say that he has time and again apprised Prime Minister Narendra Modi about the situation in Ukraine, about the conflict in Ukraine. And he also definitely, there was a talk and, in the meeting about the trade, which has crossed $50 billion milestone in just 9 months. And, the last 2 years, we have been constantly seeing that the trade is on an uptick. The trade is obviously constantly growing, and it is expected to grow further, because when we are talking about energy, we're talking about fertilizers, we are talking about cooking coal and much more. Not only the energy sector holds much more promise, besides that also technical, high-tech cooperation in digital, cooperation in technology holds more promise. Besides that, obviously, we definitely know we have had a long-standing relationship and cooperation in terms of the defense ties. So military manufacturing, technology transfer and much more is something that has been, quite a number of times on the agenda. Besides that, very importantly, we know that Russia is the chair for the BRICS for the coming year, and President Putin has also extended an invitation to Prime Minister Narendra Modi for a visit to Russia. So that and that also External Affairs Minister has confirmed that we will definitely plan a visit for Prime Minister Narendra Modi to come to Russia in the coming year. So looking at the entire conversation, it was more on what more areas of cooperation are we looking out for, and also, the trade actually we are talking about, which has got up more momentum in the last two years, and how can we, keep the trade on an uptick in the years to come.
All right, and not just energy, there were many topics on which discussions were held between the two countries. Now, Meghna, could you provide insights into the nature of the discussions between India and Russia on a wide range of issues, and what potential outcomes or agreements were reached during the meeting?
So when we actually see, there was an MOU on on medical standards. We did also see that External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar spoke about the free trade agreement. Also, there were talks when he actually met the Deputy Prime Minister Danis Mantarov. There was talk on mutual settlements in national currencies, and also India wants to increase its export to Russia. That is something that India is looking out for. Besides that, also, when we are actually talking about domestic nuclear energy, Kundakulam project is one of the important aspects. Besides that, NSTSC, that's the North-South Transport Corridor, that's an important aspect, Chennai-Vladivostok. So there are many aspects in which we are talking about connectivity, we are talking about domestic nuclear energy, we are talking about energy in different sectors. We're also talking about how to increase more exports to Russia. So these are some of the important aspects that we have, specifically gained momentum, besides obviously establishing the fact that tourism and more flights and more connectivity are also in demand, and how both the countries plan to cater to this demand is also extremely important.
All right. And Meghna, in layman language, can you just tell us, how does the meeting between India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar and Vladimir Putin contribute to the ongoing diplomatic relations between India and Russia?
So that when we actually hear what President Putin says, that quite sums up your question, Siddharth.
Yeah.
When we saw that President Putin said that there are our traditional friends in Asian continent, and India is one of them. Like, India is the traditional friend of Russia. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar, during his community address in Moscow on this visit itself, he did say that our partnership, India and Russia partnership, is a special privileged strategic partnership that has been on the positive side for both the countries in terms in the past few decades. And that's what we also see when the discussions are there on multilateral forums, about multilateral forums, like our stand in the UN on several matters, be it the SCO, be it the G20, be it the BRICS, which Russia will be the chair for in the coming year. Besides that, also, when we actually see domestically for India, like, for example, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar mentioned about the participation of Russian delegation in the Vibrant Gujarat Global Summit that will be held in the first half of January in the coming year. So that is something that is important, because biennially this summit is held, and we see that Russia has got a huge participation in that. Now, External Affairs Minister will move to St. Petersburg for his next, in this visit, only his next destination in this visit. That is also going to be important, because he will be speaking to the business community. The Russian Far East has a lot of promise to hold in terms of more investments and bringing in more businesses. So these are some aspects that we have been constantly having good cooperation on. And when President Putin himself acknowledges that how India has been a constant traditional partner, and despite all the turbulence, he has appreciated Prime Minister Narendra Modi's constant his attitude and his constant stand on several matters. So that's what explains it all.
All right, we leave it there. Thank you so much, Meghna, for your analysis. Well, update on Israel-Hamas conflict now. Israel is expanding its ground offensive into Gaza as it warns the war with Hamas will last for months. Heavy fighting is also continuing to the south in the city of Khan Yunis. Israeli military spokesman Daniel Hagari said on Wednesday troops were working in several areas of Gaza, particularly around Al-Bureij and Khan Yunis, which it described as a terror base for Hamas.
In the south, we are working in several areas of Gaza. One is called Al-Bureij. It is an area in the central refugee camps. We are on the third day of attack there, and we are killing many terrorists and destroying terror infrastructure. The second is Khan Yunis in the southern strip, a central terror base of Hamas. There we have expanded our activity, and today we have added another brigade, and we are continuing to act there with the use of new military tactics above the ground and underneath.
Amidst the ongoing Israel-Hamas armed conflict, fighting between Israeli army and Hezbollah is also intensifying. Israel's army on Wednesday released videos of top military commanders meeting to conduct situational assessments and approve plans for its northern command, as well as airstrikes on targets purported to belong to the Hezbollah. Many Western and Middle Eastern governments have expressed concerns about the broadening conflict on Israel's northern border with Lebanon. Israel's emergency minister Benny Gantz on Wednesday warned Lebanon to stop Hezbollah attacks on northern Israel in a televised address. Gantz he said that the situation on Israel's northern border must change as the time for diplomacy is running out.
The situation on Israel's northern border demands change. The stopwatch for a diplomatic solution is running out. If the world and the Lebanese government don't act in order to prevent the firing on Israel's northern residents and to distance Hezbollah from the border, the IDF will do it.
And Israel on Wednesday blamed Hamas and the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine refugees for preventing humanitarian aid from reaching people in Gaza.
Unfortunately, to date, the UN aid mechanism in Gaza has been woefully unsuccessful because it goes through UNRWA. Aid simply isn't reaching the people who need it because Hamas hijacks it and UNRWA covers up for it.
French President Emmanuel Macron, during a call with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, demanded a lasting ceasefire in Gaza. French President told the Israeli Premier of his deepest concern about civilian deaths and the humanitarian emergency in Gaza. The French presidency, in a statement, said that France will work in the coming days in cooperation with Jordan to carry out humanitarian operations in Gaza. The U.S. government on Wednesday announced a $250 million military assistance package for Ukraine. The aid package, the final of 2023, will include arms and equipment, including air defense munitions, anti-armor munitions, ammunition for high-mobility artillery rocket systems, and more than 15 million rounds of small arms ammunition. Congress has approved more than $110 billion for Ukraine since Russia's attack on Ukraine, but it has not approved any funds since Republicans took control of the House of Representatives from Democrats in January 2023. A Ukrainian attack on the Crimean port of Feodosia damaged a large Russian landing ship, killing one person and injuring two others on Tuesday. Before and after satellite images revealed the aftermath of attack. The first image released by Maxar Technologies from December 5 shows the ship moored in the port. The second image from Tuesday shows smoke billowing and serious damage to the ship, which appears to have drifted away from the dockside. The Russian and Ukrainian armies continue to exchange fire on Wednesday, striking each other's military targets, according to official briefings from the two countries. The Russian Ministry of Defense reported in a briefing on Wednesday that its forces have repelled multiple attacks by the Ukrainian army, destroying Ukrainian artillery systems and armored vehicles. The Russian Air Defense Forces shot down a Ukrainian Mi-8 helicopter and intercepted Ukrainian missiles, rockets, and several drones. The Ukrainian Air Force carried out airstrikes on Russian soldiers and equipment, and its rocket forces hit Russian ammunition depots and a command post. Moscow has come to blame the West for much of the turmoil and conflict in widely separated regions. In an interview published on Thursday, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said the intrigues of Western countries whose dominance is ebbing away are largely responsible for pitching the world into turmoil. Russia described its war in Ukraine as an existential struggle against the collective West resolved to expand the reach of NATO and inflict a strategic defeat on Moscow. It also says the outbreak is a result of the long-standing failures of U.S. foreign policy. Lavrov also restated Russia's complaint that Ukraine was unwilling to hold peace talks to end the 22-month-old conflict in Ukraine, which Moscow calls a special military operation. Zelensky has ruled out talks with Moscow until it withdraws from territories it has occupied since its February 2022. Now, Poland's government is close to end the Ukraine border blockade after countries discussed resolving the issues. Polish truckers and farmers have been blocking border crossings with Ukraine since November 6. Initially, the protest started at 3 crossings, which later expanded to 4. According to the officials, the farmers suspended a protest at 1 border crossing earlier on Sunday. However, the truckers have continued to block 3 other crossings. The protesters are demanding that the EU reinstate a system that requires Ukrainian companies to have permits to operate in the EU and European truckers to enter Ukraine. They also want the EU to scrap rules that allow cheap Ukrainian grain to enter the bloc. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Mexico-US officials discuss urgency to reopen border crossings. Trump triumphs in eligibility battle, clears path for potential White House run. And the death toll climbs to almost 200 in central Nigeria following a series of attacks on villages. Stay with us to know more.
Well, 2023 is about to end, but it gave us a lot of memories to cherish, especially in the world of cinema. World really went Natu Natu on the peppy beats of the famous movie RRR that got global recognition. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once that completely dominated the 95th Academy Awards. The remarkable career of Michael Douglas and the legend of Bollywood, Waheeda Rehman, was bestowed with the most iconic Dada Saheb Phalke Lifetime Achievement Award.
Watch ACOS 2023 World Goes Natu Natu at these times on 28th of December only on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. At the 9th plenary meeting of the 8th Central Committee of the Workers' Party of Korea, North Korean leader Kim Jong Un on Wednesday ordered the country's military, munitions industry and nuclear weapons sector to speed up war preparations in response to what he described as unprecedented confrontational moves by the United States. As per the state-run broadcaster KRT, Kim also spoke on his ambitions to expand strategic cooperation with anti-imperialist independent countries. His remarks coincide with North Korea's recent efforts to strengthen its relations with Russia. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is in Mexico to tackle a surge in illegal immigration. On Wednesday, America's top diplomat met President Andrés Manuel López Obrador in the Mexican capital at a time when border crossings into the U.S. are hitting record numbers, with often as many as 10,000 migrants reaching the southern border per day, and as thousands more trek through the Mexico towards the United States. Benji Haya reports.
This caravan of migrants and asylum seekers, the latest of an increasingly common phenomenon is still hundreds of kilometers from the US-Mexico border, but it's already causing a major political headache for the Biden administration. Antony Blinken and his delegation of Homeland Security officials have this week been asking their Mexican counterparts to help stem the flow of people from Central and South American nations traveling to the United States by, for example, controlling transport routes or providing incentives for them not to journey further north.
We don't need to go back to our country if we had nothing there. If we had, we wouldn't be migrating and we wouldn't be invading a place that doesn't belong to us. But we want help. We want an education for our children. That's all we ask for as human beings.
The White House is also requesting lawmakers here approve a financial package that includes extra funding for border security. Yet that remains stalled in Congress. No negotiations are scheduled until the new year. Mexico's president says the US government should offer more support to Latin America instead of, in his words, putting up barriers and building walls.
The importance of reopening borders crossing is a priority for us. We are talking about the economy part as well as the structural causes by migration. We are very interested in addressing the causes because people come because of poverty, inequality, violence, family reunification, and we want to address their problem in the countries of origin.
The migration issue, he added, is only going to intensify and could well be top of the agenda during the election campaign stateside in 2024. Now, illegal immigration has been a consistent vulnerability for President Joe Biden, who promised on his first day in office to, quote, restore humanity and American values to the immigration system, following his predecessor Donald Trump's policies designed to restrict arrivals. Trump, running for the Oval Office again, won the presidency in 2016 with a pledge to build a wall on the Mexican border, claiming rapists were being sent across it. He's recently faced criticism for saying that immigrants are poisoning the blood of the country and are coming from mental institutions, but he denies claims that his rhetoric mimics that used by the Nazis. Benji Haya in Washington, reporting for DD India.
New York City's Mayor Eric Adams on Wednesday announced an executive order requiring charter bus companies carrying migrants to give a 32-hour notice before arriving in the city. The announcement came during a press conference with Chicago and Denver mayor, who demanded more federal support for the influx of migrants into their cities. Adams said that if any buses found in violation of the rules could be impounded, and the bus companies will be charged with a Class B misdemeanor.
I'm announcing an executive order requiring charter buses transporting migrants, those often contracted by the state of Texas, to provide 32-hour notice in advance of their arrival into New York City. To make sure we have sufficient staffing, we are also requiring that these charter buses arrive only between 8:30 a.m. and 12 p.m. Monday through Friday, and to only drop off passengers at one spot unless directed otherwise by New York City Emergency Management.
Former U.S. President Donald Trump on Wednesday scored a victory in his fight against challenges to his eligibility to run for the White House again, when the Michigan Supreme Court rejected a bid to remove Donald Trump from the 2024 ballot based on the U.S. Constitution's insurrectionist ban. Opponents wanted judges to force election officials to determine whether Trump's efforts to overturn his defeat in 2020 and the riot in Washington should make him ineligible to run again. But the court said in a brief ruling it was not persuaded that the questions presented should be reviewed by his court ahead of the state's February 27 presidential primary. Meanwhile, the Colorado Republican Party has asked the U.S. Supreme Court to intervene after Colorado's top court disqualified former President Donald Trump from appearing on the state's Republican primary ballot. The appeal comes after the Colorado Supreme Court on the 19th of December disqualified Trump because of his role in January 6, 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol by his supporters. News from Nigeria now. The death toll from a series of attacks on villages in central Nigeria has climbed to almost 200. Local authorities had previously put the death toll at 163. Armed groups launched attacks between Saturday evening and Tuesday morning in Nigeria's plateau, a region plagued for several years by religious and ethnic tensions. There are fears that death toll could rise further as some people remain missing. Nigerian President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on Tuesday described the attacks and ordered security agencies to immediately move in, scour every stretch of the zone, and apprehended the culprits. Plateau State Governor also called for united efforts to identify and apprehend those responsible for these heinous acts. Now, ahead of the 2024 general election, Bangladesh Prime Minister and ruling Awami League's President Sheikh Hasina has announced her party's polls manifesto, pledging to build a developed, prosperous and smart Bangladesh by 2041. The election manifesto also reinforces the party's commitment to strengthen ties with India and expand cooperation on various fronts. The manifesto outlines the continuation of policies to cooperate with India in areas such as cross-border connectivity, transit energy, and equitable water sharing. Bangladesh is slated to hold general elections on January 7 next year. Weather-related news now. At least 40 people have died in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo due to heavy downpours causing floods and landslides. Residents were digging through mud to find bodies, with at least 20 deaths in Bukavu and 20 more in Burini village. Poor urban planning and weak infrastructure make hard-scrabble communities more vulnerable to extreme rainfall, which is becoming more intense and frequent in Africa due to warming temperatures. UN climate experts warn of increased vulnerability in these communities. Storm Gerrit caused snow, severe winds and a lot of rain in Scotland. As a result, residences flooded and transportation was impacted. A seriously flooded road was captured on camera in the Scottish hamlet of Cupar. The longest route in Scotland, the A9, has also been affected by the terrible weather, resulting in standstills and closures in some areas. Heavy rains in Peru's northeastern region of Loreto left dozens of families homeless. The rains began on December 26 and continued into the morning, affecting residential areas. Peru's National Meteorology and Hydrology Service has warned the Loreto area is on red alert due to potential further flood damage. Widespread flooding affects thousands in several provinces of southern Thailand after days of relentless rains. 6 people were dead and over 70,000 homes across the provinces of Satun, Songkhla, Pattani, Yala and Narathiwat were affected due to the floods, which started on December 22nd. The government has advised residents to move to the higher grounds as most of the area remained submerged in floodwaters. However, the rescue operation is still underway as the army along with the relief team check buildings for damage and casualties. Heavy rains and gusty winds battered Australia's Sydney, worsening the weather conditions after a stormy Christmas. 10 people were killed after several thunderstorms plummeted country's east coast on December 25th and 26th. According to the officials, over 90,000 households are still without power after strong winds blew off roofs and also brought down trees in some of the worst affected areas. However, country's Bureau of Meteorology have forecasted the heavy rainfall to ease on Thursday. Well, let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. South Korea's National Election Commission has announced new plans to improve transparency and confidence in next year's general election process. The new set of plans include manual ballot counting. The process of electronic ballot counting machine has led to suspicions of fraudulent ballot counts. Moreover, there are also criticisms that clerks are unable to properly check the machine's rapid counting. The Eiffel Tower was closed to the public on Wednesday after staff went on strike on the 100th anniversary of its creator, Gustave Eiffel. The employees were protesting about the way the tower was being managed, though the tourist can still access the glass-enclosed esplanade beneath the tower, but access to the 984-foot landmark itself is closed until further notice. One of the world's most visited sites, the Eiffel Tower is generally open 365 days a year, though it sees occasional strikes. Nepal set stage for the beauty contest of elephants in Tusker Festival celebration on Wednesday. At least dozens of elephants walked on tippy toes, donning colorful, intricate patterns, scribbled all over eyeliners, nail polishes and clean bodies at the contest. This year's celebrations of the annual Chitwan Elephant Festival came after a gap of 3 years owing to the coronavirus pandemic. Giant panda cubs in Sichuan province of southwest China were captured playing and frolicking in the snow. The snowy field has become an intriguing playground for the giant pandas as they posed various funny gestures like rolling, hugging and climbing the trees. Still to come on DD India News Hour. Thick layer of fog engulfs India's national capital. Flights and trains delayed due to heavy fog. And southern Indian state of Tamil Nadu sends 42 large bells that will adorn the Ram temple in the pilgrim city of Ayodhya. We will tell you the details ahead. Handicraft skills empowering women of North India's Jammu and Kashmir. How? We will tell you.
We just don't bring you the news as it unfolds. We get to the heart of the matter.
We don't just present facts. We demystify complex social, political and economic events.
We break stories that shape the world's present and future because you deserve the truth.
I am Tanvi Taneja from New Delhi.
I'm Ollie Barrett from London.
I'm Nick Harper from Washington, D.C.
Join us on DD India Global Monday to Friday at these times.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Siddharth Bhardwaj, and let's have a look at the headlines once again. Russian President Putin invites Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi to Russia during his meeting with India's External Affairs Minister. Global issues dominate agenda of the talks. US to provide fresh $250 million aid to fund Ukraine's war against Russia, package to include arms and equipment. North Korean leader Kim Jong Un orders country's military to speed up war preparations to counter what he calls unprecedented confrontational moves by the United States. Australia's most prestigious ocean race concludes with LawConnect claiming the honours. Well, in the wake of Tuesday's alleged explosion near the Israeli embassy in the New Delhi, security around the area has been tightened. Additional paramilitary forces have been deployed outside the embassy at India's capital. A blast was reported near the embassy around 5:10 p.m. IST on December 26, Tuesday. While the special cell of the Delhi police is investigating the matter, India's leading probe body, the National Investigation Agency, also visited the site and carried out preliminary inspection. Well, DD India correspondent Dibyendu Mondal joins us. Dibyendu, now what is the current situation outside the Israeli embassy?
Well, Siddharth, since the news of the alleged explosion broke on Tuesday evening, security has been tightened outside the embassy. I'll just ask my camera person to zoom in to show you that paramilitary along with the Delhi police have been stationed outside the complex of the Israeli embassy. This also, let me tell you, this is the backside of the Israeli embassy where the alleged explosion had taken place. And since Tuesday evening, heavy paramilitary, in fact, heavy police and paramilitary presence was seen. But somehow, since today afternoon, we can see the deployment has decreased because according to Delhi police, the threat perception has been analyzed by the Delhi police, and it seems that everything is okay here at the Israeli, in fact outside the Israeli embassy complex in Chanakyapuri in New Delhi. And but still, just for precautionary measures, some paramilitary forces have been stationed outside here, even while entering into the road, which is the Prithvi Raj Road, as well as the APJ Abdul Kalam Road, which leads to the embassy. Barricades have been put in place, and police are randomly checking some of the vehicles that is entering here at this particular stretch of the road that leads up to the Israeli embassy.
Okay, Dibyendu, can you just update us a little more about the investigation into this matter?
Well, of course, since the news of this alleged blast broke, special cell of the Delhi police, along with the crime unit of the Delhi police, as well as the National Investigating Agency and the National Security Guard, which is the NSG, have been present here since yesterday late afternoon. The forensics team was also present here, collecting crucial evidences. In fact, pieces of the reminiscence of the alleged explosion that could be found here behind where the explosion had reportedly taken place. So the forensic team is currently investigating and analyzing whatever they could pick up from here at the site. And what we hear from the Delhi Police's latest update is that the forensic team is analyzing, along with the special cell of the Delhi Police, which is specialized in handling terror-related activities. Okay. And the Delhi Police also says that they are not ruling out a terror angle into it, given the fact that Israel is in a conflict with Hamas at the current time. So therefore, all angles are being probed by the central investigating agencies, and shortly perhaps we could be able to get more details as to what exactly has happened and what the status of the investigation is.
All right, thanks for your analysis, Dibyendu. The government of India reiterated its call for Pakistan to extradite terrorist Hafiz Saeed, the founder of terror group Lashkar-e-Toiba and mastermind behind the 26/11 Mumbai attacks. In the upper house of India's parliament, the Minister of State for External Affairs, General retired V.K. Singh, responded to a question on what efforts have been made by the Indian government to extradite the terrorist who has been given a safe haven in Pakistan. The minister said India has handed over to Pakistan material linking Mumbai terror attack to elements in Pakistan, and that Pakistan has acknowledged and admitted in the past that the terrorist attack was planned and launched from their country. And while India and Pakistan do not have an extradition treaty, the government of India had sent a letter rogatory to the government of Pakistan for assistance in investigation in Mumbai terror attack, including against terrorist Hafiz Saeed and his affiliates. However, there has been no response from Pakistan. India has consistently called upon Pakistan for an expeditious and successful conclusion of the trial against the accused in Pakistan. And a thick layer of fog engulfed India's capital on Thursday morning. Many flights have been delayed, along with 22 trains running late in Delhi due to the dense fog. The Indian Meteorological Department has issued a forecast for dense to very dense fog at many parts, likely to continue over northwest India during next 2 days and gradually improved thereafter. It also said that light isolated rainfall is likely over northwest and central India during 30th December to 2nd of January. India has reported 692 new cases of COVID-19 subvariant in the country in the last 24 hours, taking the toll of active cases to 4,097. 6 people have also died in the situation. The All India Institute of Medical Sciences of Delhi has also issued guidelines for COVID-19 suspected or positive cases. On JN.1, COVID-19 subvariant Minister of State Health, Dr. Bharati Praveen Pawar, informed that Health Minister Mansukh Mandavia has held a meeting with all states on this, asking them to increase testing and genome sequencing. She urged senior citizens to take precautions. However, she said that there is no need to worry, but precautions should be taken. The government of India is monitoring the situation in Kerala, where cases are high. Offline and online booking for obtaining Aarti Pass begins at Ayodhya Ram Temple. Right now, only 30 people are allowed to attend Aarti with the pass. This number could be increased as per the number of devotees. The pass for the Aarti can be obtained by producing government-issued ID cards. The Ram Temple Trust will also hold meeting in India's Ayodhya today. A locker facility has also been set up in the temple premises for devotees. India's Viksit Bharat Sankalp Yatra is being undertaken across the country with the aim to attain saturation of flagship schemes of the government through ensuring that the benefits of these schemes reach all targeted beneficiaries in a time-bound manner. As Viksit Bharat Sankalp Yatra reached Amroha district of North Indian state of Uttar Pradesh, on the occasion, certificates were distributed to beneficiaries of various welfare schemes run by central government. A live telecast of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's address and interaction with the beneficiaries was done by an LED van. Viksit Bharat Sankalp Yatra also reached Sonbhadra district of North Indian state of Uttar Pradesh, where beneficiaries expressed happiness and gratitude for the benefits getting through various government welfare schemes. They were also given certificates for some other schemes initiated by the government in an effort to ensure that development is easy and accessible to everyone. Viksit Bharat Sankalp Yatra received a warm welcome upon arrival in the coastal state of Goa. Union Minister of State for Tourism, Ports, Shipping and Waterways, Shripad Naik, attended the event. Live telecast of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's interaction with the pan-India beneficiaries of various central government schemes was done. Prize distribution for healthy babies under ICDS scheme and felicitation of sportspersons was also done during the event. In Chhattisgarh, beneficiaries gathered to know about the various welfare schemes. As Viksit Bharat Sankalp Yatra reached the Bhilai municipality, information was disbursed to the locals about many new government schemes. Beneficiaries of various schemes, including PM Swanidhi scheme and Ujjwala schemes, were given certificates, and news registrations were also done. Also in Chhattisgarh, such yatra was organized in Janjgir district. District collector present at the event spoke to beneficiaries about the impacts of various welfare schemes on their day-to-day lives. Existing beneficiaries were felicitated with certificates, while enrollments of new ones for various schemes were also done at the event. After meeting India's President Draupadi Murmu and Prime Minister Narendra Modi, a group of 33 students from Raisi district returned from the Watan Ko Jano tour on Thursday. The tour, which lasted for 10 days, gave the students an opportunity to visit various cultural, historical and religious places.
लाहौर से निकले थे, फिर जम्मू आए, जम्मू से हम सीधा गए जयपुर। जयपुर में हमें बहुत से महल देखे, जैसे हवा महल, जंतर मंतर महल और दूसरा एक अल्बर्ट म्यूजियम, वो सारे देखे हमने। उसके बाद हमें अजमेर शरीफ ले जाया गया। अजमेर शरीफ में भी हमें बहुत अच्छा लगा। उसके बाद फिर हमें वापस दिल्ली ले आया। दिल्ली में हमें रेड फोर्ट और कुतुब मीनार और पीएम मोदी जी से हमें वहाँ पे मिलाया और प्रेसिडेंट से मिलाया और डॉक्टर राजेंद्र प्रसाद जी से भी मिलाया। पीएम मोदी जी से हमें मिलकर बहुत खुशी, क्योंकि हमारा फर्स्ट टाइम था। आज से पहले हम कभी नहीं मिले और हमारा सपना भी था कि हम बहुत दूर दराज इलाके से हैं और हम फर्स्ट टाइम मिले मोदी जी से, तो बहुत अच्छा लगा।
Well, let's take a look at other stories making news. In a first, Congress leader Priyanka Gandhi's name has been mentioned by the Enforcement Directorate in its charge sheet, mentioning her role of purchasing an agricultural land measuring 5 acres in Haryana's Faridabad. Stalls of various millets products from the southern Indian state of Tamil Nadu have been set in the second edition of Kashi Tamil Sangam Part in Varanasi. The items made from millets include biscuits, pasta, noodles, and the bakery products are being sold in abundance. Millet products are high in nutrition as it does not contain any chemical or sugar. Jaggery and date jaggery have been used in place of sugar. The sacred pilgrimage to the holy cave shrine of Vaishno Devi in India's Jammu and Kashmir has set a new record this year, witnessing the arrival of nearly 9.6 million pilgrims, marking the highest in the past 10 years. Nearly 40,000 devotees embark on trek to the shrine every day. The recently inaugurated skywalk has proved very helpful in the crowd management. Various handicraft skills are being imparted to empower women of North India's Jammu and Kashmir. them through centrally sponsored schemes. Women are being emphasized on skill training of embroidery, tailoring and stitching through Indian government's special skill development programs. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Indian stock market has achieved a new feat by crossing the $4 trillion valuation mark. Good news for Apple as it resumed sale of its latest smartwatches in US as the ban over a patent row was lifted. Carlos Alcaraz makes comeback to beat Novak Djokovic in Riyadh exhibition.
Well, 2023 is about to end, but it gave us a lot of memories to cherish, especially in the world of cinema. World really went Natu Natu on the peppy beats of the famous movie RRR that got global recognition. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once that completely dominated the 95th Academy Awards. The remarkable career of Michael Douglas and the legend of Bollywood, Waheeda Rehman, was bestowed with the most iconic Dada Saheb Phalke Lifetime Achievement Award.
Watch Echoes 2023 World Goes Natu Natu at these times on 28th of December only on DD India.
We just don't bring you the news as it unfolds. We get to the heart of the matter.
We don't just present facts, we demystify complex social, political and economic events.
We break stories that shape the world's present and future because you deserve the truth.
I am Tanvi Taneja from New Delhi.
I'm Ollie Barrett from London.
I'm Nick Harper from Washington, DC.
Join us on DD India Global Monday to Friday at these times.
Well, 2023 is about to end, but it gave us a lot of memories to cherish.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. India's benchmark indices hit fresh all-time highs for the second consecutive session on Thursday as strong global cues, easing bond yields and weaker dollar added enough fodder for the rally. The BSE Sensex opened in green with 194.55 points, up at 72,232.98, expecting the positive trend to continue for the day, while Nifty opened 58.05 points at 21,712.8. Meanwhile, as the benchmark indices, including the Sensex and the Nifty, continue to hit new highs, India has now emerged as star stock market, surpassing the $4 trillion mark. Moving ahead amid global headwinds, including rate hikes and geopolitical unrest in several global pockets, Indian equities outperformed the top 10 global markets in terms of gains so far this year. India, which presently is the fifth largest economy, stayed firm as valuable stock market with a capitalization of $4.16 trillion, clocking a 24.8% surge over the previous year, the sharpest rise since 2021 and highest among other global markets. Well, DD India correspondent Ajay Mishra joins us live for more details. Ajay, could you tell us the key factors that have contributed to India's stock market?
Well, I think it has been a splendid year for the Indian stock market. You have seen that Sensex and Nifty breaching new highs yesterday also and today's trade also. The basic factors behind this fantastic move is the strong fundamentals which the investors believe is going to continue for the next year also. We have seen that many of the several rating agencies have improved their forecast for the Indian economy for this year as well as for the next year to almost 7%. We have the Indian economy have posted a splendid growth of 7.8% in the first quarter, followed by 7.6% in the second quarter, which makes very comfortable for the investors to come and invest in India. Secondly, there is a strong commitment for the fiscal discipline. Government time and again have reiterated to achieve the fiscal deficit targets. Current account deficit is also below 1% as per the latest RBI data. The financials and banking stocks are buzzing at this point in time because of the strong balance sheet of the banks and the performance of the net NPAs, which has come below 1%, which is a huge success as far as the financial sector is concerned. So on one hand, where we are witnessing a Great Depression kind of situation in US. The Indian markets are,
flourishing.
They are flourishing, absolutely.
Definitely. Ajay, now, have there been any recent policy changes or government initiatives that have positively impacted the stock market?
I think it is a focus on the manufacturing, which is the key element, which is pushing the FIIs and DIIs, both the domestic investors as well as the foreign investors, to come into the stock market. And for the third year in a row, the domestic investors have surpassed the investment from the FIIs and FPIs. So this is very healthy sign that more and more people from the domestic economy are coming to the stock markets. There are new age workforce which is coming to invest in the stock market and gaining benefits out of that.
Indeed.
SIP mutual funds are at all-time high. We have seen that the capex, the capital expenditure by the government is a huge push for the infrastructure spending, and no matter, we have surprisingly we have seen the great move in the infrastructure stocks, especially defense and railways.
All right.
So understand the policies are playing a great
role. All right, Ajay. Now, very quickly, looking ahead, what are the projections or expectations for India's stock market in the coming years?
So I think 2014 is again going to be a great year as per the experts, because there are very few bright spots in the global markets. The bond yield, as you've just told, are declining. There are pressures in the Eurozone. The economies in the Eurozone, especially the Germany and Japan, is going to shrink from here onwards. India is obviously the bright spot when it comes to the performance of the economy, and that's why we can expect some kind of bright spots going forward again, and investors are several reasons to bet on Indian economy and Indian stock markets.
All right, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much, Ajay, for joining in. Well, Apple's latest smartwatches can resume being sold in the US after the appeals court paused a previous ban on imports. Apple Inc. said that the most advanced Apple Watch Series 9 and Apple Watch Ultra 2 were available at US stores on Wednesday and can be purchased online starting from Thursday noon. Earlier, sales of Apple's latest smartwatches had been halted in the US over a patent row. The U.S. trade body had barred imports and sales of Apple Watches with technology for reading blood oxygen levels. Device maker Masimo had accused Apple of poaching its staff and technology. However, the iPhone maker made an emergency request to the U.S. Court of Appeals, which proved successful in getting the ban lifted. All right, you're watching DD India News Hour. Time now for Spot. And for that, my colleague Abhishek Mahajan is there. Abhishek, tell us what is happening. What is the latest in world of sport?
Thank you, Siddharth. A lot is happening in sports. We'll start with cricket. India versus South Africa. The test match is happening in Centurion. India is playing South Africa in the first test match at Centurion currently. Proteas is looking all set to build a substantive lead on day 3. Dean Elgar and Marco Jansen resumed South Africa's innings from 256 for 5 earlier on day 2. Elgar's century and David Bedingham 56 runs. South Africa get past India's first innings total of 245 runs. Elgar played some unusually flamboyant front foot strokes in a chanceless innings against a fearsome attack on a track set up for the seamers. He brought up his ton in 140 deliveries and featured in 2 important partnerships. First 93 runs for the second wicket with Tony D. Zorzi, which set a good foundation, and then 131 with Bedingham for the 4th wicket. The 29-year-old Bedingham looked assured and confident on debut as he scored 56 before being bowled by Mohammad Siraj, and as per the latest reports, South Africa are 325 for 5. Marco Jansen is playing on 39 and Dean Elgar is unbeaten on 171. The Indian women's cricket team faces Australia in the first one-day international match. The match is in fact underway in Mumbai. India women are playing Australia in the first women's ODI of the 3-match series at the Wankhede Stadium in Mumbai. India won the toss and opted to bat. And as per the latest reports, India are 92 for 3 after the end of, in fact, after 18.3 overs. Kastika Bhatia is playing on 46 and Jemima Rodriguez is unbeaten on 9. So India had defeated Australia in the one-off test and they would look to continue with the same momentum. The next two ODIs will be played on December 30th and January 2nd next year, respectively. The action will then shift to Navi Mumbai, which will host the 3 T20 internationals on January 5th, 7th and 9th.
Also, it was fourth time lucky for LawConnect skipper Christian Beck as his Super Maxi reigned in Ando Comanche over the final approach to claim line honours in the Sydney to Hobart yacht race by 51 seconds. The two big yachts had run neck and neck at the front of the fleet of more than 100 boats over 1,163 kilometres from Sydney Harbour and Tasmania's main southern port. LawConnect, which last won the race under the name Perpetual Loyal in 2016, had finished runners-up last year. Thousands of spectators gathered at Hobart's Constitution Dock to watch one of the closest finishes in the long history of Australia's most prestigious ocean race. Stormy weather had made conditions tough and the winning time was 1 day, 19 hours, 3 minutes and 58 seconds.
We thought we'd definitely lost it like 15 minutes before because they were 3 miles ahead of us, kind of thing. So, because they took the lead pretty close to the line, we thought there's no way we could get it back. But it really, the wind gust came around and miraculously it happened. So it was a complete surprise, to be honest.
Well, Carlos Alcaraz came back from a set down to beat world number 1 Novak Djokovic 4-6, 6-4, 6-4 in a hard-fought exhibition match in Riyadh. Alcaraz started strong by breaking the Serb's serve in the opening game. However, Djokovic answered back with 2 breaks of his own to take the opening set 6-4. The Spaniard then started the second set by breaking Djokovic once again. He then held his serve to secure the second set 6-4 to force a deciding third set. The third set was an epic back-and-forth battle, with Alcaraz getting a break in the third game only to see Djokovic level once again in the sixth. A string of errors by Djokovic allowed the world number 2 to take the upper hand back when he secured the deciding break to go up 5-4. The match is a preview to January's Australian Open as the world's top 2 players get into gear for the 2024 season. All right, and that's all in this edition of DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X formerly known as Twitter, and Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Prasar Bharati from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.